So, welcome to this webinar about being out in sport. So, we've got three panelists today, and we'll go on to introduce them in a minute. But we're just going to be talking about the LGBT community in their sports, whether it's the sport that they play or a sport that they support. So, my name's Lucy. I'm the Activities Officer at Huddersfield Students Union, and my background is netball. The first time I went to watch a netball game was in 2013, and I went to watch the Yorkshire Jets, which is my local team. So yeah, that's my sport. Ryan?
Hello everyone, my name is Ryan. I'm the founder of Brown Terriers, the LGBT fan group for Huddersfield Town Football Club. My background in football really is I've played football and I've followed football pretty much all my life. And obviously my hometown is Huddersfield Town, so I've always supported them. They've been brought up in a Huddersfield Town family, so yeah, a big Terriers fan.
Right, should we go on to Philip?
Yeah, I'm Phil. I'm an IT student at the University of Huddersfield. I'm a big Arsenal fan. I've played football before, and I'm also obviously a big football fan myself. The first time I went to go and watch football was, I think I was 7 years old in 2006 against Bolton Wanderers when we went away to them. So we lost 3-0, but you know, I still loved it. I fell in love with that day. So yeah.
Emma?
Hi, I'm Emma. I play rugby union at Huddersfield Uni. I've just finished my second year and I've been playing rugby since I came to uni, so about 2 years now.
Fab. So yeah, that's the three panelists, and I'm chairing today. So I'm just going to be asking a few questions, and hopefully they'll lead on to just some discussions as well. So we'll get started. So do you feel that sport has helped or hindered your experience of being out in sport? Should we kick off the conversation with Philip?
Yeah, so it's helped me focus on different things in my life. Like basically, if I'm playing football, everything else in my life it's just gone. Do you know what I mean? All my focus is on that. So a lot of the reason why I watch it and I play it is because it's like a distraction from the world around us and stuff. But due to the lack of representation in football, I've never really felt like I belonged. When I came out, when I was younger, playing football, I was mocked by a few people. And it kind of turned me off playing football in teams again, fortunately. So, yeah, that's how it came with me.
Ryan, do you want to comment on that as another football fan?
Yeah, I think I've got to echo the words of what you said, Philip. But obviously, I think in my experience, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Really, because like you said, Philip, it's an escape. When you go to the football, and I'm proper zoned in when I'm in the football.
Yeah.
It's just like anxiety free, and I'm just full, in the zone kind of thing. You could say so. But then there's things that you can hear on the terrace as well, which can be quite intimidating. And yeah, it's just not very nice. As I say, I can kind of blank out at you really, but I can still, it's still not nice to hear in that aspect. And I think football seems to be way behind the times. The big problem for in football. As I say, before the lockdown happened, we seem to be hearing stories pretty much every week at different games that people had reported homophobic abuse. But I think that's not necessarily down to the fact that before, I think people didn't actually report it before. I think more people are feeling able to report it now with maybe the facilities that they have at their disposal. But yeah, it's really sad in football. And that's why I created my fan group really, because I saw the state of football and I just felt like I needed to make a difference within my community, and I felt like I needed to, really push this and, try and just educate people and raise awareness around it as well.
That's really good to hear. Emma, do you feel like being part of rugby union has helped or hindered being out in your sport?
I think I have a slightly different opinion to Ryan of being from rugby rather than football, but I would say that it has both helped and hindered. Like when first coming out, I've just joined rugby, and I felt like that community really helped me, like allowed me to do that in a more comfortable way, because I don't know, it just felt like a very welcoming and accepting environment to me. I was just kind of aware that other people in that community felt the same way as I did, and I think when I came out, I was the only person who was actually out at that time. But like, regardless of that, I still felt like it was a very safe environment to come out in. But on the flip side of that, I don't know. I often feel like being a lesbian who plays rugby just kind of hits a bit too close to home on some stereotypes. And I can find that quite uncomfortable sometimes when, I don't know, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right, we'll go on to the next question. Do you feel like your sport has helped or hindered professional athletes from coming out? Does anyone want to off that?
I feel like I can start this one if you wish. I think it's a bit of a mixed bag really again, because there is the campaigns like Football v Homophobia and the Rainbow Laces campaign, but apart from that, I don't really see much support for the LGBT community, in terms of players. But it seems once these campaigns are over, I feel like it's just forgotten about it again, and that's the sad reality. There's no focus on it, and I think I was thinking about this last week, and I felt like if some high-profile footballers did like an advert surrounding this, it would make a huge statement. And these, players don't. I don't know if it's the players that don't want to do it, but nothing ever seems to be. Nothing ever seems to have happened with that. But I think that would really make a big statement and really push this. But yeah, I think that's all I want to say for the minute. But yeah.
Just to add to that, with football, there has been some footballers that I know. As an Arsenal fan, Hector Bellerin is quite woke in issues. He usually does a lot of campaigns with the environment as well. But he's done interviews saying that there needs to be more representation in the sport. And also, Arsene Wenger, the former Arsenal manager, said it's only a matter of time before a football player comes out. So I think, I agree that some players probably don't want to do it, and I think it might be the fact that the toxic masculinity culture in football, in men's football especially, it doesn't help the situation, because you come out, or if you show support, it'll make you look weak in a way.
Yeah, but I think again that's about talking more about it, and I feel like it just seems to be a big taboo subject really on this, and it really shouldn't be in this day and age. But there's something about football that seems to just it's just that for me, I think it's just that unwelcoming atmosphere that I feel as a fan on the terraces, which it's not. If I'm feeling it, what are the players going to be feeling like? And the environment has to be the right environment before someone comes out. I don't feel like we are getting there slowly, but I still feel like we're a bit of a way off really in terms of someone coming out, because ultimately the atmosphere has to be a more friendly one in the football game. And I don't know how we tackle this, but I think a starting point maybe is maybe some high-profile footballers maybe coming out and just saying, we are in support of this community. But yeah, it is really sad at the minute in terms of inclusivity within football.
I think it's difficult because obviously it's inevitable that there's going to be chants by fans. We've seen, obviously, as you said, there's been chants all over the country, especially at Brighton games as well.
Yeah. Well, I want to add to that as well, because I had an experience, it was well documented as well actually, on the 1st of December 2018, and it was actually our Rainbow Laces picture actually, and I experienced homophobic chanting from the town fans to the Brighton fans, and I was absolutely disgusted in this and that. And, you know, as I say, I've come out, you know, and just done some media surrounding this, and it's probably the most uncomfortable I've ever felt at a town game ever before. And if I would have been directly in it, if you could say, so I was at the opposite end of where it was happening, I probably would have left. And I do know a member of ours actually left that was in and around it, which is really sad as well. But you know, it just filled me with upset and anger, really. As I say, after the game as well, when I was walking away, I passed the away fantasy. And there was a few homophobic slurs, you know, said then as well. And it just topped off a really rubbish day for it because we'd lost. But that result seemed to have just, didn't really matter because it had already been ruined. Whether we'd won or lost, it would have been ruined because of this incident. It's just not acceptable. And as I say, we did report it to the police, and nothing could have been done because there was no kind of, they didn't have the technology or whatever to be able to identify who started it off. But as I say, we did report it, but nothing seemed to be done. And I feel like we do need to be, I do feel like there's another responsibility within a football stadium where, you know, stewards should be actually, you know, educated about this, and you know, and if they do hear anything, they do have to act, because if we call out this kind of abuse, that's the only, you know, way forward for this. Because, you know, if we're reporting it, you know, that's a very good way, you know. But there and then when it's happening, we need to be making people aware, or the stewards should, you know, should look out for homophobic language. Really.
They need to keep people safe, and chants like that obviously don't make people feel safe.
It doesn't make people safe, and they say, whether it's be chanting or phrases that people use within the game, you know, words can hurt as well. You know, it's not just chants. I feel like there's still words that people just seem to say what they want in football without thinking about others around them. And yeah, as I say, I started this group because I wanted to make a difference, and I want to see change in football, and I want to eradicate homophobia altogether as much as I can. And I'm really passionate about it, as I said, because as an openly gay man, I just feel like I need to do something about it. But I also want to have a better experience when I'm in the terraces of the football as well, because as I say, it can be quite intimidating and a bit toxic at times.
Definitely, yeah. Emma, have you got anything to add about whether you sport and if you feel like it's helped or hindered athletes?
I think it's largely dependent on what sport you're in, to be honest. Like, I think women in rugby would have like a much, well, I know from experience it's a much different like environment and community, and I feel like it's much more accepting than like what you guys have experienced. I think that allows athletes to be more comfortable coming out, and that's probably why we have more representation.
Yeah.
Gareth Thomas is his name, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, can I just add something to that as well? I think in terms of rugby, you know, I have been to a few rugby games before, but I'm not really follow it that much. But as I say, it seems to be more of a friendlier atmosphere on the terrace. It's more of family feel, you know, people seem to accept people for who they are, kind of thing. But as I say, it's in terms of rugby though, still, you know, Gareth Thomas didn't actually come out until after he'd stopped playing. But there is an out rugby player at the minute called Keegan Hurst, which I really respect actually, because he's come out and he's actually still playing in the game. But in terms of women's rugby, I don't really watch much of that, but I can only comment on the men's side. But it's good to have representation within the rugby game. But as I say, my big aim is to get to have a football icon, if you could say so, like an idol, because I
want an idol. Do you know what I mean? I want, when I was a kid, I never saw anyone like, you know, a gay footballer. If I could look up to someone, it would have made me a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, I totally agree with that as well. I really do believe that. I think that's sad that we couldn't have someone to look up to as well. But yeah, hopefully, I really do feel positive about the future. It will happen one day. I do believe that we have to keep pushing, we have to keep raising awareness, and we have to keep educating, and we will get there. I really do believe that with fan groups like mine, you know, in terms of fan groups like mine, the numbers have just rose. Quite a lot of clubs. I think when I joined, I think it was 23. Now there's about 50. So the progress is there, and we're growing these fan groups, and these fan groups really do make a difference and push this. And as I say, it's just a shame that the football authorities don't seem to put this at the forefront of their minds throughout the year, because I feel like some kind of maybe some projects or something, just to educate people about it would really help. But as I say, people at the top don't seem to be bothered really.
Yeah. So actually, that comment goes quite well with the next question. So, do you feel like the governing body of your sport should be doing more to support LGBT plus athletes and to challenge homophobia? Should we start with Emma?
I feel like, as we were saying earlier, we need more like kind of pride type campaign things that are ongoing and not just like in Pride Month, etc. But type of thing like featuring LGBT plus athletes, but as we said, we need people to come out in order to do that. So I think that starts from the community really, and making a more accepting environment, just as we were saying earlier. I think it's hard for the governing bodies to do anything if the community doesn't change their attitude, but it's like a cycle. One needs to impact the other, etc. So it is a bit of a, I feel.
Yeah. Anyone else got any comments on that?
Yeah, well, I definitely feel like we could be doing a lot more than they are doing. The authorities, obviously, the campaigns like Football Be Homophobic and the Rainbow Lace campaign in football, that really does help and it does raise awareness. But as I said earlier, I feel like once these campaigns are up, it's kind of forgotten about. I feel like the authorities just need to just up their game with this really, and just really, as I say, I think an advert would be really, an advert, it doesn't necessarily have to be players, coming out, but as I say, just an advert, just raising awareness of the topic and just making people feel like they're able to come out, But yeah.
In terms of the Rainbow Laces campaign in football, it is obviously really good, but I don't think it's very visible. Like, when they play football, you can't see the rainbow laces that they're wearing. You can't. It's nice having a rainbow-coloured advertising board, but it gets forgotten about really quickly.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I do agree with that on some points, but also they do have a few added features, like the rainbow conifers, which can stick out quite a bit.
Yeah,
it has grown. I do understand what you're saying, but in terms of visibility and raising awareness, stories that you hear about, positive things within the community, that's another thing for me as well, not just about what happens when it's come out, because you can hear some really inspiring stories, and it just really raises awareness when you hear positive stories. Really. So, but I totally agree. There's always room for improvement, and we just have to keep upping our game each year, and and hopefully our authorities decide to put this at the forefront of their minds throughout the whole year, because it is clearly a serious problem within football and obviously other sports as well. But obviously, I follow football mostly, so that's the only angle I can speak from, really.
Do you feel that when these campaigns are run, what are the fan base's reactions to it? How, especially with football, I'm really interested to know. What's the reaction to these campaigns?
On social media, sometimes the comments can be quite nasty, but it's social media. It's not representative of the entire community of football. But from what I've seen, whenever a club's posted on Facebook, like they've changed the logo to a rainbow colour or that, the comments are like the vile, like they're horrible. Like when I'm reading them, I'm just sat there like, what is this?
Yeah, I totally agree on that point. I think it just really that is the proof that there is a big problem within the game. when you see comments as disgusting what you see when these, clubs change the badges to the rainbow. But as I say, in terms of my perspective, I think, it's sad that people feel the need to do that. But from our experience as a fan group, of course, quite well known. The people that have something to say always do it online, and I feel like there's not enough protection for anybody really online. But from my experience, obviously, towards the LGBT community, whenever we have had abuse sent to our Twitter page that we have up, nothing ever seems to get done. It seems to just go under the carpet, kind of. But I suppose that's the same in every kind of hate crime, I suppose. But I can only speak from my perspective, really. But,
you can just take a look at the world around us right now, and we can see that it's as rife as it always has been. You know what I mean?
As I say, sorry to interrupt. I have experienced a few, homophobic incidents within my time off, so the chanting. Actually, the away game when we went to Brighton one year, I go on the coaches to the away game. I'm a regular football supporter, town supporter. I go home and away. And we was on our way to Brighton. Obviously, these teenage boys were quite drunk at the time. Now, that's no excuse for what happened on that day. And as I say, I did experience some homophobia on that trip, and that really did strike home that this is a big problem within the game. And it did really make me feel it was an awful trip as well. That was the worst trip I've ever experienced. And obviously quite a long journey as well on the coach.
Sometimes I've seen people say that the only reason why there's homophobic chants in football is because of the other team, but it's not true, because it's fans towards their own fans, so it can't be. It's not. I don't think that's true at all.
That's a ridiculous excuse, and to be quite honest with you, you can't excuse this type of behaviour anyway.
Exactly.
I believe that there is chanting, but the words that I hear that people, like the phrase that people say, can be quite hurtful as well for me as well. And as I say, whenever we've got a flag, of course, at the very start when I started this flag group, I felt really intimidated by getting the flag out in the stadiums, because I used to take it everywhere with me, And that is a really sad state of affairs. Now, I've got to a point now where I'm not really bothered what people think or what people, because to be quite frank, no one will actually say anything to my face about fan group. They'll only ever do it online. But as I say, just one last point. Sorry to keep going on. When I got the flag out one time at a home game, you just you get a bit of like pointed at, kind of laughing kind of from other fans around me, and funnily enough, just Huddersfield town flag, no rainbow or anything on it, was quite close by to me, and nothing was. It was like it wasn't there. But that's where we're at the minute, unfortunately, and my fan group is just going to keep pushing this and keep promoting.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what Emma said before. What's the point in these clubs doing something if the community can't change their views either? What's the point in the club using the rainbow logos when all that happens is the abuse? This isn't actually on the list of questions, but I just kind of thought of it. Do you feel like the club don't use the rainbow flag enough or talk about LGBT enough because they want to try and protect the LGBT fans?
I think it varies from club to club. I think it kind of thing. Yeah, it can depend on the interests of the people all in the club or people that are in charge of that sort of thing. I'm not entirely sure on that one myself.
Can you just repeat the question? Sorry, as I say, I kind of lost track of that.
Sorry, I've probably murmured a bit. Do you feel like the club thinks, what's the point in doing these campaigns when the full fan base react so badly to them. So what's the point when all that they get is the abuse? Are they trying to protect the LGBT community within them?
No, I think if there is bad publicity, I think it should drive the clubs forward. Surely, it should really. I know it's what's the point attitude, but actually there is a point, because if we keep doing this and we keep raising awareness, I believe that there will be some improvement. And it depends. Like I say, it does depend what club you're at. But from my perspective, Huddersfield Town are really pushing inclusion and really supported our group from day one. We're very lucky in that aspect that we've got a club that is so supportive of whenever we want anything or have any ideas, they're always willing to chat with us and create something special. So our club's pretty good in that aspect. But as I said, there's always room for improvement, and that's the aim for us as a group as well. We just want to keep improving what we're doing. We're not perfect, but we're out there, we're trying to raise awareness and visibility, and create that better atmosphere for our LGBT fans.
As an Arsenal fan, I'd say they've been pretty good as well. I'm part of the fan group called Gay Gooners, and they do a lot of link-ups with the Arsenal football club. So they have the players playing with the fans. Sometimes they have like match-ups. It's really good. Like the Arsenal are very good at it.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, Phil, about the high-profile player Ian Wright came out and supported.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah,
which was really positive. That was fantastic to see.
Yeah.
Right, I'm gonna move the conversation on.
Yeah.
I guess this next question. It's not actually on the list again. It's kind of just popped into my mind. I think it's probably more of a discussion maybe between me and Emma, but you two are very welcome to chip in. Emma, how do you feel that the other sports clubs at university, how do you feel that they are about women's rugby? What are their sort of views, and how do you feel as someone who's out in that sporting community?
I definitely feel like there's a stereotype. It kind of frustrates me that I match that stereotype, if that makes sense. So, like, when you tell someone that you play rugby, the reaction is always like, "Oh, you know what they say about girls who play rugby," and it's just like, yeah.
So that is homophobic.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I do feel like there is kind of a divide, and like I don't know which. I think that comes from both sides, to be honest. Like, but I think it is there.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone else got anything to kind of chip in on that? No? We'll go on to the next one. Thank you, Emma. That's really interesting. So what more do you think that clubs should be doing? I guess, Emma, in terms of this, maybe you could touch on what more the SU could be doing, or the university. And then for Phil and Ryan, what more do you think the clubs could be doing? I don't know who wants to kick this off. Say Emma. Yeah, we'll go on to Phil.
I think just echo the points that were made before. Having more high-profile players coming out and doing interviews and PR stunts, if you would call them that. Just more PR about it, more discussions about it. Yeah. I think it really helps.
Yeah, no, I agree about that. As I say, it's all about raising awareness, and clubs do need to keep speaking out more, and just creating that welcoming feel. I know they can't ultimately change the communities that we live in, but they can in a way, to be fair, because if you're educating people more, they may think twice about doing what they're doing.
I mean, football in general is just it's life. It's involved in society a lot. Just like sport is, it's a lot of football work is community work too. It brings people together.
It does bring people together, I agree, but as I say, there's aspects of football that I really hate, you can say so, and as I say, one being homophobia and any hate crime really, but homophobia specifically, because obviously that's what targets me really. But as you say, I think it's a sad state of affairs really. Football. As I say, I'm trying my best to just to keep pushing this and going to create new projects that will help this movement.
I think that the campaign that the SU just did, that with Hannah Leader's artwork, I think that was actually really good in showing that there's LGBT plus students like across all different societies and all different parts of the uni, and it's not just like specific areas that have. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a diverse thing that isn't just specific to one sport or one society. I think that's important that the SU kind of shares that.
I do have a suggestion for sports clubs in general. I think something like a cross-club statement, where they came out and said, yeah, we support LGBT players. I think that wouldn't deter me from wanting to take part in something like football again, because I do play it, in my spare time, but to do it competitively, it still scares me, it still worries me. And
So I want to add to that as well, really, because we're divided here again in terms of football, because I don't know if you're aware, but obviously there is gay football clubs that you can go to and play for, gay-friendly football clubs, and then there's grassroots football. But as I say, they shouldn't be separate. But that's where we're at the minute, unfortunately. And a lot of gay players, that want to play football week in, week out for a club, they cannot do it in just in a club that isn't a grassroots club, unfortunately, because and this is why there is clubs like this, because ultimately gay football players aren't able to play football otherwise. Sad state of affairs, really. As I say, we do need to keep pushing this movement, and keep trying to eradicate this, because it's just not acceptable in this day. As I say, I play football, but I wouldn't be able to ever play for a so-called straight football team, because it's just too,
intimidating.
I feel the odd one out. I really do, and I don't feel welcome. I really don't feel welcome with the language that's being used at times. And, I feel more comfortable at a gay football club, but obviously there is limited clubs about, so you're having to travel a bit to get to one. I mean, I know that the closest one to me is in Leeds, so it's still not on my doorstep. You know what I mean? I'm having to travel to play football. It's just not right.
So this is the last question, and then we can wrap up. How do you see the future of LGBT plus athletes coming out in the future? Do you want to start off, Emma? Do you have anything to say?
I mean, I'd like to think that as time goes on, it won't be such a big deal, because it'll be a lot more normalised. Obviously, I personally think different sports are at different levels of acceptance right now, and I think hopefully that should start to level out. I'd like to think anyway. I mean, this is hope.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. As I said, I think it's really important to keep pushing things, and keep educating people and raising awareness and really push it, because at the end of the day, I do believe that in my sport, football, I do believe that there will be it will get better for LGBT footballers, because there's bound to be quite a number of them, but they're just not able to do so. Obviously, we do have icons that have already stopped playing, which is important, and also Robbie Rogers still plays in America. The funny thing about this is that in America, he's able to play football and be out, but yet over here he couldn't. When he was playing in England, he couldn't actually be himself. So
he played for Leeds United, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. And he wasn't able to come out, so he actually stopped playing for a while, and then he actually got back into it over in America. But the ideal scenario for us as a group, as a club, is to get to a stage where we're feeling accepted in the game. And I really do want to see gay football will come out as an icon in the future. And I do believe it will happen as well with everyone pulling together in the fight against homophobia, because there's a lot of support for it as well. Obviously, a lot of fan groups all united trying to get to the same stage. And football clubs are more and more getting involved in it as well. Obviously, some clubs less than others and some more than others, but I feel like we need to get all the clubs to the same level, and then it will really push it forward as well.
Yeah, cool. Any final comments?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Was someone else saying something? No. Right. So basically, I just think once one player comes out, it will probably inspire a lot more to come out. I think there'll be like some sort of snowball effect with, especially if it's a high-profile player, it'll be a big story.
Yeah,
So
I totally agree.
Yeah.
It would be a massive, as I say, it's just that first person coming out, and then, as I say, it's happened in other sports, hasn't it, as well, where someone's come out and then another one's followed. So it's definitely a snowball effect, but it's just getting to the stage where a footballer is able to come out, because unfortunately we're not at that stage yet, as we all know.
Cool. Okay. Well, that was a really interesting discussion. And I hope people who watch this can see, the difficulties that we face, but also the positives of the community as well.